Welcome back to the channel. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Teaches. Today we're going to talk about a concept in psychology known as self-fulfilling prophecy and why it's important that you understand it. Let's say if I imagine myself, before we even talk, just by looking at you for whatever reason, I think, you know what, that person, they look like a snob. Now, when I do that, what self-fulfilling prophecy means, I'm going to put on a certain perspective and I'm only going to see things that are going to highlight my initial statement. So if I said that you're a snob, and all of a sudden we're at a party and I overhear you talking about, your amazing business deal, I'll be like, of course, he's a snob. That's what he's going to talk about. Now, the negative part is he might talk about, going to charities and volunteering and this and that. But because I have the self-fulfilling prophecy about this individual, I completely don't hear that. I don't hear any of the things that do not pertain to this idea of him being a snob. There was a study done a few years ago about these two researchers, these two psychologists. They go into a classroom, imagine a middle school classroom. They go to the teacher and they say, hey, we've got these special IQ tests that will tell us, depending on how the kids do on the test, who will be the next Einstein, who will be the next incredible, out of this world, extremely intelligent talent. They say, is it okay if we hand out these tests to your students? And the teacher says, yes, of course. So these two psychologists, they hand out the tests to every single student. There's about 20 to 30 kids. Everyone writes the tests, they get it, and they say, thank you very much. We'll come back to you next week with the results. So the psychologists come back the following week, and they get the teacher to come to a corner, and the teacher has the kids, being occupied reading a textbook or something. And the psychologists say, okay, listen, so out of all these kids, this person, and this person, they select these two. They say, these three did incredibly well on the IQ test, and the chances of them going on and becoming something incredible. Now, they said scholarships are unquestionable. I mean, these kids are going to skyrocket. These kids are intelligent far beyond their years. And if this test is correct, they're going to do amazing in your class. And the teacher says, okay, thank you. The last thing the psychologists say are, but please do not tell any of the students. The teacher says, okay. So the psychologists say, all right, we're going to leave. And in 5 months, when the semester is about to end, we're going to come back and see how those three individuals specifically, how they're doing. And if it correlates to the IQ test and how well they did, and if they really are that intelligent. So we fast forward 5 months. The psychologists come back to look at the final grades of each student. And guess which three students, or four students, sorry, I don't remember the exact number, but those students that were picked in the beginning, they had the highest grade out of all the students in the entire class. The teacher looked at them and she said, yeah, you guys are completely right. When you handed out that test, these three or these four students, they did get the highest mark. Now, the fascinating thing here, folks, is that test had nothing to do with IQ. See, with the psychologists, they weren't trying to figure out how smart every individual is, but they were trying to figure out this idea of self-fulfilling prophecy. They were wondering that if they told the teacher, hey, these three kids, they're going to be incredibly smart, if that would affect the way that the teacher interacted with those students and the way that she graded them. So guess what happens? In the course of these 5 months, these kids, they're nothing special. I mean, this was a bogus test. But the teacher thinks that these kids are masterminds. So guess what she does? She starts treating them as if they're masterminds. So when one of those select kids puts up their hand, she is more likely to call upon him, to get him to voice his question to the class. Why? Because she's thinking, okay, this kid might be a genius. If that's the case, if he has a question, I mean, the whole class must be wondering what this is, or it must be an amazing question. And when she is getting them to voice their opinions, when she's getting them to give their answers, if it is those specific kids who are supposedly masterminds, she would give them a longer time to answer a question. Because she believed, okay, this kid's a genius. I mean, he can figure it out on his own. You know that thing that teachers sometimes do where they'll ask you a question, but then they'll wait, and then you'll see if the student can figure it out or not. And after a period of awkward silence, they'll just jump in. What the teacher would do is with those select kids, they wouldn't jump in. Because they had confidence in those students' abilities to be able to come up with the right answer. Whereas when it was just a regular kid in the class, one who didn't do exceedingly well on the test, she was more likely to jump in and interrupt them, or not even let them answer the question fully because she knew, they're not masterminds or anything, or they're probably not going to get it. So, my friends, the importance of self-fulfilling prophecies and why you should be aware of them are, think of all your events think of all the places that you're involved in. Think of the clubs that you're involved in. Think of school. Think of work. The way that the people see you, if they think that you're smart, if they think that you're a hard worker at work, if they think that you're a friendly guy at the club that you go to, that is going to differ, and that is going to impact the way that they interact with you. For example, be just a kid with average grades, but act like the stereotypical person who doesn't care about their grades. Go sit in the back of the class in your body language, and if it's all signaling to the teacher saying, this guy's a dropout, this guy, he's not going to try it all, he's just going to go home and just mess around and play video games all night. When your teacher is marking your tests, they're going to have that in mind. And that has been proven to influence an individual's grade and to make it different, to bring up a different result. Now you take that same kid, you put him in the very front row, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but you let him wear something that's a little bit more, I don't know if clean is the right word, maybe a nice polo shirt or just a nice t-shirt, and he looks orderly and organized, and he looks just like a good student, and his hair is all nicely done, and he's putting up his hands 2 or 3 times. Now imagine it's the same kid that was sitting in the back. But now if the teacher looks at him and they start to get this idea of, oh, you know, Daniel's such a hard worker, Daniel's such a good student, that indirectly, if they start to believe this person is a good student, or this person who shows up to work, they're always friendly, this is a good, hard worker, that is going to highly influence their decision making when they're thinking about a raise, a promotion, a grade, boosting up something, the way that they speak about you with their colleagues, with their friends, with their family. So the reason why self-fulfilling prophecy is so important is that people see what they want to see. And a lot of the times it is subconscious. So be really, really mindful of the fact of how you can come across to other people. Now, whether that's through your personality, whether that's how you speak, how you carry yourself, or even just through your body language, right? Just even through the clothes that you wear, right? Whether you're leaning back in the chair, whether your hands on your face like this, or you're just having open posture and you're facing forward. So self-fulfilling prophecy, folks, is this idea that people, if I think that you're lazy, everything that you do is going to come off like lazy, right? If I see a person, let's say a coworker of mine, and I know that she doesn't like me, right? I just ingrained it, even though that's not true, but for whatever reason, I think she doesn't like me. Exaggerated, she could sneeze beside me, and I'd go, oh, she's trying to make me sick, so I'll miss work and she can take my shifts. Now, I know that sounds totally irrational, but a lot of people do have those thoughts. And it's not that exact example, this example of, if I think that you don't like me, every action that you do, I perceive is because you're trying to stick it to me. Oh, so-and-so didn't say hi to me. Or, oh, when they were passing by, they shouldered me. They hit my shoulder with their shoulder. They must have done it on purpose. Why? Because I think you're a jerk. Because that is my prophecy of you, and that is anything that I'm seeing. That is everything in my scope. So how do you work on that, folks? How do you expand that spectrum, your perspective, so you don't fall into that? One of the only things that I've seen, that I've heard of, is just being aware. Because the first step into working with any problem to making yourself better is awareness. So even just watching this video, knowing that it's a thing, with practice, I have to mention, with practice, you should be able to catch yourself. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but over time, you're going to catch yourself, hopefully, going, you know what? Maybe this person's going through something. Maybe it has nothing to do with me. Or, you know, I don't even know this guy. I've never even talked to him. Sure, maybe I came off on the wrong foot the way I've looked at him, but maybe there's more to the story. Maybe there's more than just one story. What do other people think about him? I hope you like this video, folks. If any of this is interesting, Daniel Teaches, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell if you want to know every time that there's a new upload. My name is Daniel, and I wish you a fantastic day. Take care.